Welcome to the Chasing Brighter podcast.
You're about to go on a journey of self-discovery as we chase a brighter you. Every single week, we will bring you new episodes that will cover everything from lifestyle and tips to more serious conversations about grief, life, and hardships.
Allow this show to be a reminder to always keep chasing a brighter version of you. Let's get into it. Hi, welcome back to the Chasing Brighter podcast. In this month of May, we've been focusing on creativity. And so our May book club is called Creativity and Gratitude, Exercises and Inspiration for a Year of Art, Hope, and Healing. It's written by Amy Oestreicher, and it's really an interesting book. It's more of a workbook than it is a book. And it really is encouraging all of us to embrace our creative impulses and integrate creativity and gratitude into our daily lives. So the book has structured over a year. So it's 52 weeks of like prompts and activities focused around anything creative, drawing, writing, just any sort of activity to get you moving and thinking about creativity as well as gratitude. Jess, what did you think of the book?
So I was surprised. I feel like this book really aligns with our mission, but I was surprised to hear about Amy's story. I thought that this was just going to be a little workbook with a little blurb on color red this week or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was really surprised there really is a memoir autobiographical component to this where
Hmm.
Amy shares her own journey of healing and how creativity helped her heal. So Amy has done 3 different TED Talks, and Kelly and I did watch her TED Talks, and she shares more of her story. Basically, when Amy was in her senior year, she had a little bit of a stomach ache and went to the hospital, and her stomach literally exploded. And she was told that she would no longer eat or drink. And she woke
Almost
up,
died.
and when she woke up, like, she almost died, was in a coma for months, and then woke up and they were like, "You're never gonna eat or drink again." Also, when she woke up, her grandparents had died. And so that was just terrible too. And over 7 years and, like, over 30 plus surgeries later, Amy embraced a detour in life. And that is one of, I think, the key themes that Amy talks about is being a detourist. And she really travels around the world and talks about, she has that campaign, Love My Detour. And she talks about a detour being a curve in the road of life, and how can we embrace that detour, and how can we tap into our resources and our inner strength. And so I love how she talks about resilience. And so basically her
Yeah.
book gives you keys to resilience and helps you embrace resilience through creativity.
Yeah. And one of the other themes is creativity as healing. And she
Hmm.
talks about how when she was in the hospital, when she was on the road to recovery, her mom brought her, she would give her just used art supplies, I think. So her mom brought her a paintbrush and she started painting, and she found creativity as a way for her to heal, a way for her to communicate and really deal with some of her own personal challenges.
Yeah, I love how she says a quote in here: creativity is not just arts and crafts, creativity is energy. And so I thought that was
Yes.
really cool to think about it like that. And she also talks about that hope doesn't just come in a magical beam of light, but that hope has to be created. And I really like that if you think about that from a healing journey or from having life give you a detour, you're not going to have these magical things just happen to you. You have to make space for those things too. And so
Yeah.
we have to create hope sometimes when we're in a really dark place.
Yeah. And really about magic. She references the fact that thinking about, we have our episode on creativity in everyday moments. And it was that. It was thinking about the magic of everyday encounters and everyday objects, and really promoting a sense of wonder. I think it's about that mindfulness and being aware and appreciate our simple surroundings and how those bring joy to you.
Yeah, and so you have this workbook that she gives you, and then she tells you to get a sketchbook. And I love how we've been talking throughout this month of the theme of being an artist or being creative. And so she just gives you permission, like, it's paper. Your sketchbook is paper. Okay? It could have lines on it. It could be a notebook. It could be a composition book. It can be a small sketchbook, a big sketchbook, but have something with you at all times because then you're opening yourself up to looking at the world differently and looking to be inspired because you have that sketchbook with you to maybe make notes or draw, write down and document something that inspired you.
Yes. Yeah. So each of the so again, 52 kind of chapters really about like things to do in any given week. And so I know that we're in the month of May. We haven't lived
Yeah.
a
So you
year and we
just
don't
did,
have the
yeah.
book. Yeah.
I just did 4 weeks. I just did
So
started at week 1 and did 4 weeks. That's how I worked through it. How about you?
for the sake of this recording and really to inspire our listeners to buy this book and to try this out, I kind of cherry picked a couple different
Mhm.
sections
Yeah.
and my there's a couple of my favorites in here, but I think the one thing that really hits me is because you know how I love mindset. So it was really thinking about the mindset of creativity and the fact that you can create anything. There's
Mhm.
no coming it with an open mind and really just leaning in and getting at it, which I thought was cool. And really about, again, creativity is not for artists. You don't have to be an artist. I am not an artist. I
Yeah.
can doodle, I can do things, and I'm okay with what I create because it's mine and I did it. And I think what I'm even trying to teach my kids about creativity is, you know, if you put the work into the thing that you want to create, you have this vision and you put your work in, it's a you've created this object that you care about. If you just schlep something together, then you're going to get something that you schlep together. And that's okay too. It doesn't matter, but you don't have to feel like you have to create this sort of like work of art all the time.
And I think you're an artist if you say you're an artist, right? If you wanna say you're an artist, bam, you're an artist. I know we talked when she talks about resilience, I just wanna talk one more section on at the beginning talking so much about being a detour. And I think the quote I like it, this one's my larger one, but remember, nobody expects a detour to happen in life. When we think we have things planned and all figured out, that's usually when we're thrown a curveball. Detours have created the most scenic surprises in my world. Now I envision a world where detours in life are everyday blessings. The road is open with possibility, with curves, and with wondering wonder. And that kind of goes to what you were saying too about mindset, right? If we can embrace the detours as a way for us to look at something different. Also, the book is, has pictures of her art, which is really beautiful, and she talks about keeping a shoebox with you and finding everyday objects and keeping them in the shoebox and then using those for art. What are your thoughts on that?
I love that. One
Yeah.
time, the boys took a class when they were young, a camp, and one day they did a found object activity. And so we had to scrounge around the house for various objects that they could use. And one of the children ended up grabbing one of our house keys. And so when they brought the project home, we are like, now we know where that key went. So
I
there was
think
that.
that yeah, I think that helps us, like she thinks of creativity like a muscle that you work, right? A marathon runner isn't
Yes.
just gonna go run a
Yes.
marathon. You're gonna put in that daily practice, and so I think by keeping this shoebox of items, that just helps you, like, that you're always looking for things to inspire you and keep it. I'm not gonna keep a shoebox. I'm not gonna do that part. I already feel like there's so much crap in my house, but I like the idea of looking at things through a different lens versus that's just
Yeah.
a key or
I mean,
whatever.
yeah, and I think for me, it's let's face it, am I gonna literally go through this every single week of the rest of the next year? I'm not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what I love about it is I think you can if you wanna do that and lean into it. I tend to lean into something for a period of time and then I move on to something else. I wanna take away from this some pieces of things I can do throughout different parts of my life. I
Right.
loved the section where it was like, "This week, head out on a walk. Choose a route you take on a routine basis. You might see the same things that you usually do or pass by the same old landmarks, but this time will be different. with your superhero senses, where she talks about sound, taste, touch.
Mhm.
She was deprived of a lot of these things being in a hospital and being in a
Right,
coma and not being able to eat. So
right.
it was really this gratitude of the fact that being able to even do those things is an amazing thing and seeing life in that way. But really
Yeah.
looking at, then she had like prompts within that.
Mhm.
View the world as an artist, write about colors and shapes that you see, imagine every object is alive and talking to you. Like just a very playful and thoughtful, mindful practice
Yeah.
of looking at and doing the same things you do every day, but looking at them differently.
And I love how she talks about boredom because I think a lot of parents, and there are a lot of funny reels about this, can't stand when they hear their children say they're bored. And so I always say bored is what do I tell the kids? It's a mindset, right? And it means you're like not creative or something. I say that to the kids. But she says, if you take stock of what you can be happy about and start putting pen to paper, it's hard to ever get bored. A lot of times when we're bored, we're just stuck, unhappy, and inactive. A creative mindset invites you to see our circumstances through a fresh lens that we can be present, inspired, empowered, and dare I say, happy. So, again, very much creativity as a mindset and as a lens with which to see things.
She has a chapter on cooking and about crafting a creative recipe and thinking about this is where integrating it into your daily life. We all cook, looking at something differently, trying, switching out an ingredient.
Yeah.
Those are ways that you can be creative and you might be surprised what comes out of it.
Yeah. What do you think? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
My favorite thing is toward the end of the book, which I think is like well structured in the way that it is, where you're like leaning in, hey, grab a sketchbook, start drawing. And then as you progress in the book, by the end of the book, it's about storytelling and writing songs and really more engaged things. But the one section on songs and storytelling, find your story song was one of the activities, and talking about a song and what it reminds you of and thinking about that was cool. So again, these are really cool, engaging ways as you're driving your kids to practice and you're thinking about various songs and they resonate with you. There's a phrase in there that you might spend some time with that and think about it
Yeah.
or start writing your own. Both of my boys, I have a jingle for their name that we just made up a rhyme
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so then it made me think about like, what if I silly wrote a song about my life in like a silly, funny way, right? Like
Yeah.
just I think it gets at creativity is also about playfulness and having
Yeah.
fun and
Yeah.
smiling and doing silly things,
It
not taking
doesn't have
yourself
to
too
have like, a rhyme or
seriously.
reason for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I did the first 4 weeks, it was very intro stuff, and it made me uncomfortable because it was like, I don't know, I feel like this is it seems like that's what you do if you go to a class, like when you see on TV and they make you like stand up and shake your arms and legs or,
Yeah.
whatever. It was talking about describing how you feel
Yes,
in
the feelings.
colors
Mhm.
and words and go through the day and describe your day in emotions and with the 5 senses and with sensations and draw something ordinary and then describe it if somebody didn't know what it was and guess what would you think it was if you didn't know what it was. So that was fun, but I
I
think it's
imagine you leaning into this, and then you make like Forky at
oh my
Toy
god, I
Story.
totally made Forky. You had to make this okay, I
Okay.
totally made Forky because she said you have to, in the space below, sketch each of your senses as a superhero. So if you want to
Ah.
pee or pants, these are my
Oh,
it's
I
like so
love it.
stupid.
Oh,
But
cute.
anyway, I made some Forkies, but that's
Oh, I
okay.
love
Like
that.
my names for the
You need to
superheroes
do a
are
reel
stupid,
about
but
that, Jess, because that is really cute. It actually looks really good.
but I think if we want to shift to okay, how can we apply this to real life, or what would we encourage our listeners to do? I think having a sketchbook with you at all times is a really amazing tip. And I challenge our listeners to get yourself a sketchbook. There was a time where I think it came in a gift and was a really small, cute, tiny book that I kept with me at all the time. And it was so nice to have, especially when you have more littles. You can draw on it, play tic tac toe if you're bored waiting somewhere. But just if you can carry that with you, I think is a great way. You and I have been doodling more. Doodling opens up creativity. I got watercolors out because of this book. So I love that tip. So I really think I encourage you listening right now, get yourself a sketchbook. It does not have to be literally a sketchbook, a little notepad, anything that you can have with you.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that there's the way that if you're out and about and you wanna carry with you and you're drawing and all of that's one way. I think the other sketchbook is having one at your house. You have magazines, cut out things that you like, write down things that you like. You read books, you like phrases, start to build build something that inspires you. And even for me and my sketchbook, because I just found the other thing I will say is don't go out and buy something. You probably have something in your house. To Jesse's
Yeah.
point, it could be paper. And maybe you don't even have an actual sketchbook. Maybe you have a sheet of paper that you're at some like parent meeting and you're bored and you start doodling. And then you go back and you like glue it in your other sketchbook. Again, this is about being flexible, but it's about so it doesn't have to be defined one way, but really using art and creativity as a way to help it's stress relief, it's mindfulness, and it helps us build a better self.
Yeah, I think because that part of your brain, the creative part of your brain, that's what they say if you activate that, that helps reduce anxiety, depression, right? So that can help shift your mindset, right? When you're engaging in creative activities, you're activating a part of our brain that will help us think of ways that will help us create hope, that will help us recognize our own resilience, that will help us with gratitude. And so the other thing I challenge our listeners to, if you love the idea of carrying a little shoebox or container of buttons and pins and things like that, go do it, right? Go
Yeah,
get
that's
a little
yeah.
box that you keep, a little keepsake box, souvenir box, or whatever, anything that inspires you. I think if that sounds awesome, go for it.
Or just throw it in the bottom of your purse, and then every couple months when you switch purses out and you find it all, you put it in the
Make a
box.
collage. Totally, totally. I think you and I have been talking about different ways we're going to challenge ourselves with
Yes.
creativity this month. I did the latte art class and I got out of my comfort zone of just going to a class and learning new things. I did make a gallery wall with Gabby's art from her art class this year.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And the final challenge is I challenge us to go listen to live music. So that is something I'm going to be on the hunt for myself is to go listen to live music. So how has your challenge been going for you?
Yeah, so I got out my sketchbook. I have a lot of colored pins that are erasable. So for those of us who maybe are afraid of making mistakes, erasable markers, the friction pilot pens are great. And
Yeah.
so I've been doing that. So I started my sketchbook and just drawing things. I really enjoy that. I like making lots of colors. I'm like a rainbows kind of person
Mhm.
and just drawing little things or making bubble block letters. That's like my go-to. I'm not so big on I think one of the activities was like draw a portrait of yourself, which I will do, but it's not gonna be pretty. I think really my second grade or third grade like art skills is like where I stopped.
Mhm. Yeah, I loved
But
I
it is still fun and silly, and I'm fine, like, not judging myself. Okay,
Yeah.
so
We
that's
never took
one,
a formal art class. I
is
never was
yeah, I didn't either. So that's one is getting out the sketch pad and spending more time on that. Number 2 is I'm going to take a candle making class with Wes. He wants to take a
Oh,
candle making
that's
class.
awesome.
Yeah, so that should be fun.
Yeah, and I want you to listen to
The
live
live
music
music?
somewhere.
Okay. Alright. I'll have to work through that.
I'm gonna look up, like I told you before, just a restaurant that has it, but we also have 10,000,000 piano bars here, which I think piano bars are fun,
Oh,
so
yeah, totally
thought
fun.
about doing that too. Have you seen maybe we should do that, Kelly. That's a thing that's trending on social media where you go with a friend and you paint a portrait of each other and then flip it over and show what it looks like. I think I'd rather sketch. I don't know if I could add the
Could
colors,
you
but
imagine me doing that with Brian?
oh, that would
Um,
be that
really
would be so
hilarious.
sad. Yeah.
I looked up some of those even for the month of May, and I know we
Oh,
were gonna
paint
try
and
to, like,
wine
do
stuff.
something,
Yeah.
and again, not so convenient, not so convenient. It's like once or twice a month. I feel like pre-COVID things were different.
I still have everything. They were doing a kit that you picked up during COVID. And then you
Yes.
click the link, they emailed you a video. So I have all the paints, the brushes, and the canvas, and then we never actually watched the video. So whatever. That's okay.
In terms of creativity, I'll put a link in the show notes. One of the things that I bought a new board game for the family. We love Blank Slate, where you have to write the
Oh, I love that game. Yeah, we like
so
that game.
this one is called Just One, and it's can all play all the time. You have a card, you flip it, and you basically your entire everybody sees the clue except you, and everybody writes one word down that is supposed to give you a clue to guess what that secret pass it's like secret password in some way, right?
Mhm.
What that word is. And then if people have the same clues, they cancel each other out so you can't see those. But
Mhm.
the goal is for you to guess what your word is, and then if you do, you get a point. So it's like blank slate, but a little bit different, and it was really
Yeah.
fun because you're trying to think of a word that not everybody. Because blank slate, you wanna guess a word that everybody else is going to guess, this one you don't, but it's a little variation that works. Brian hates any card games except Uno. He does not do any face cards, any numbers and
Right.
patterns,
Yeah.
so it's hard to find, like, a fun family game that everybody is gonna not get angry about.
Yeah,
Hey,
we're still doing Geo loves it. We got out Taboo. We don't actually play it like you're supposed to, but it's like where you just like, give clues. We
yeah,
just like, get the cards and you just give clues, and then whoever gets it gets to hold the card, and then we count up the cards at the end. But we don't
cool.
like we just make it. So we did it last night, and Gabby was like, "I want to go upstairs," and I'm like, "Okay." Gio and I are going to keep playing, and of course, she wanted to stay down. She wanted to stay down and play, and it's fun. You and I were always killing it in Taboo because when you have a history with someone, you can
Yes,
describe it with no words, right? You'll be like, "The kid I went to 5th grade with, I
right,
remember he did this," and you're like, "Shoehorn," and you're like, "Bam."
right.
When they're getting that, right? Like, they're
Yeah,
getting that I'm gonna just give a totally random
clue
clue,
they'll get, yeah.
and then you'll figure out what I'm talking about because I had Bill Gates, and I was like, "The guy," I go, "Jean's husband," and they're like, "Bill," and then later it was Bill Clinton, and so Gabby's like, "The name we said earlier." We're like, "Bill." Anyway, but yeah, I think that's fun, and we're gonna keep adding our creativity, sharing our journey on our stories on Instagram,
Yeah.
and we'd love for you to share with us, DM us, send us what you've been doing if this has inspired you to do anything
Yes, share with
creatively, we
us.
love it. Yeah.
Thanks for listening today. Don't forget to subscribe so you can hear our latest episodes as soon as they drop.
If you loved today's episode, share with a friend. Come visit us on Instagram or Facebook. Make sure to give us a follow. We have lots of giveaways. If you want to know more about Kelly and I, read our blogs, find more tips, tools, and resources, check that out at chasingbrighter.com. Thanks.